This trial promises a massive, clinically relevant reduction in body weight for patients struggling with obesity. In participants with overweight or obesity, 2.4 milligrams of semaglutide once weekly plus lifestyle intervention was associated with sustained, clinically relevant reduction in body weight. The headline result is staggering, the kind of data that shifts standard protocols overnight. But the closer we looked at how they built this trial, the more an asterisk started to form. The meter is at 0. Let's open the hood. At the top of page 1, we look at the venue and rules of engagement. The New England Journal of Medicine. This is one of the most rigorous publishing platforms in the world, providing a strong structural safeguard against low-effort science. And jump down to the abstract's end, they locked their protocol on a public registry before a single patient was enrolled. Venue and registration are completely solid. When a paper claims unprecedented results, the first step is to examine their primary endpoint. The mean change in body weight from baseline to week 68 was minus 14.9% in the semaglutide group, as compared with minus 2.4% with placebo. These results don't hover near the boundary of significance, they blow past it, meaning this is a genuine biological signal, not statistical noise. Look slightly higher on the page, and you'll see they didn't switch the goalposts. The endpoints reported here perfectly match what they promised to measure. P-value distribution and outcome fidelity checkout. Moving to page 2, we look at the structural safeguards. We conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial at 129 sites. The trial is properly structured, with both the investigators and the patients kept entirely in the dark about who received the active drug. Jump to page 5, and the baseline characteristics confirm the randomization worked. The two groups started evenly matched. Study design and blinding exactly right. Even strong designs can fail if the execution is sloppy. Participants were randomly assigned in a 2:1 ratio through the use of an interactive web-based response system. They used a central computer to handle the assignments, ensuring allocation concealment was flawless, leaving no room to steer patients into specific groups. Scroll to page 3, and we see they ran a proper power calculation in advance, successfully recruiting the necessary volume of patients. Sequence generation and sample size, no issues here. Next, let's look at trial dropouts and how missing data is handled. Overall, 94.3% of the participants completed the trial. Retention was exceptional, with under 10% missing data for the primary outcome. Looking closely at their methods, they used a strict intention-to-treat analysis, keeping every randomized patient in the final math regardless of whether they finished the treatment. Analysis strategy and statistical testing are all clear. Back on page 1, we checked the math. More participants in the semaglutide group than in the placebo group achieved weight reductions of 5% or more. The headcount logic holds up perfectly, with reported percentages matching the raw participant counts. The large sample size and bounded clinical variables make advanced forensic tests inapplicable here, but the baseline numbers look completely natural. Internal consistency and baseline plausibility look pristine. On page 7, we check the visuals. Figure 1 shows the trajectory of weight loss over time. The charts are clean and accurately represent the data, without truncating the axes to artificially exaggerate the effect. Visual integrity is perfectly maintained. So far, the methods are airtight. But this is where the pristine narrative hits a wall. A data sharing statement provided by the authors is available with the full text of this article at NEJM.org. The paper does not provide open access to the raw data or analysis code. Instead, they point to a journal sharing policy, which typically means the data is kept locked down and only released under highly restrictive conditions. Open data availability, missing entirely. If you're finding this analysis valuable, consider subscribing so you don't miss our bite-sized breakdowns. The data is locked up, which forces us to look closely at who generated it back on page 2. The sponsor, Novo Nordisk, designed the trial and oversaw its conduct. The trial was entirely funded and overseen by the manufacturer. And open payments records show the lead author, Robert Kushner, received hundreds of thousands of dollars in consulting and research fees directly from that same sponsor. Jump to the disclosures on page 12, and multiple other authors are also direct employees and shareholders of the company. The independent story gets complicated the moment you look outside the paper. Where does that leave us? The methodology of this trial is exceptional, proving a massive, statistically undeniable weight reduction. The problem is the sheer scale of the financial conflict orchestrating it. 88 out of 100. That's a study that did the science carefully, but failed its ethical obligation to distance the researchers from the sponsor. Because independent clinics have since replicated these exact results in the real world, the finding stands, but the author's transparency does not.